I was talking to our guy, Tony Siracusa, this week. We're going to have him on to talk some Wake Forest, but also ACC realignment. And it's been kind of ACC, or I should say realignment month at the Voice of College Football, just to roll out a bunch of different models, different formulas, possibilities out there. So we've looked at the Big Ten plus Notre Dame and Florida State, and again, an ACC without Florida State and Clemson and some of the others to see if they could possibly survive and pick up some other. So with all that in mind, he had passed along, and I don't know the specifics. Are there a couple key dates coming up this week on that front?
As far as the, I'm sorry, as far as the ACC?
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of pushing toward, and then now Clemson's some people have come out and said that they're going to announce that they're out 7-1 July 1st of next year. I think it's at any day now, but the biggest thing that happened last week, and this is toward the end of this week comes into play, is that Florida State filed their petition to have a completely unredacted ESPN television contract agreement, and all things point toward this judge in Tallahassee, I know Coach Cooper, but actually Coach John Cooper, but all things point towards Judge John Cooper signing this and putting this into effect, which kind of goes back to things that I've been talking about on your show for the last 2 years, that they don't want this to get. They don't want that, because redacted means that the ACC and ESPN can pick and choose what they want to line out. But a full copy, and again, Sunshine State laws or just anything, could be basically us having this information is a huge leg up and in the process of getting out of the ACC. So I think the writing is on the wall. They're probably going to start negotiating some of these different things, and I think that's the first sign. But Florida State's really doing a lot of different things behind the scenes that show motion toward a major announcement that's non-sports related happening. And I'm not just talking about a new academic logo either, which it's kind of weird that you just dropped the academic logo, but it is what it is.
That is weird. As far as that goes, I go on the same lines as when they changed the original logo. I think people are kind of upset and it's aggravating, but at the end of the whatever, they've got smart people that ran it through a computer program, and it'll make it easier on us graphic designers, so I'm okay with it. But just to piggyback on getting out of the ACC and the dates coming up, and to piggyback on what James said, absolutely. We finally get this discovery. We get to look at these contracts, and the significance of it is not just, okay, we look at the latest version of the contract. No, we get to look at every version of the contract and the different amendments that go in. I believe it's 7 different dates going back to when this all started, as we have tried to intimate James and Chris on this show for 2 years, me for going on a little over a year, whatever it is. There is a lot more to this than just, oh, well, they signed it and they didn't want it. No, the ACC has represented these contracts 3-4 different ways throughout the years since 2010. It was one thing in 2016. It was another in 2021 on the latest amendment. They've said this. We've seen it in court where they did it in court. They tried to represent one term in the contract 3 different ways, and the judge called them out on it. Well, now Florida State is going to have black and white. Just because we don't get it doesn't matter. They get it all unredacted. They're going to be able to say, oh, well, see, look here, look at this. This means this right here, but you said it was this here, and this here to suit your needs. And there's a list of things a million miles long. It goes back to, like, if you've ever watched the TV show Suits, we finally get that. Florida State, Clemson, they're going to get these boxes full of all this stuff, and they get to go through it. So big time stuff. There is a date, I believe July 12th, there's going to be, which is Friday, they're having some kind of hearing in the Clemson trial. I don't want to misspeak. So we're going to have Doug Rowe on Friday to discuss that and everything going on with the latest. But yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of dates. August 15th is another date. If Florida State has to announce their intentions of removing themselves from the ACC, they don't have to announce a destination or anything like that. Just that they will be leaving the ACC by August 15th if they want to be in a different conference by 2025. So that there is another date to watch. And, we can get into it. There's a whole nother conversation to be had about all the rumors swirling. It's been, we've been Big Ten. We've been telling you all the reasons for all this time. The rumors were SEC at the beginning of the week. Now we've got Big 12 rumors here at the end of the week. But, tons of fun. But as we creep closer and closer to football actually starting, people are scrambling to get done what they can.
Okay, so the two things that strike me would be when you mention Clemson might make an announcement. Obviously, Florida State was hard at work on this front, far in front of Clemson. So do you guys have any idea why Clemson might be better prepared? Or maybe that's just their tact to go public with this and announce it before Florida State?
I don't really know what it is. I just think I think everybody's jumping the gun a little bit. And that's wild for me to say, because seeing as 2 years have been beating the drum on this. But it's like, for example, now there's people who are saying Florida State's going to the SEC now over the Big Ten. Then there's a guy, I think his name is George Swam or something like that.
Greg, don't give him my name.
He says a lot of things.
I've had him on once.
The Clemson guys are saying some stuff, but I think my opinion has always been this: it will be before football season. I think more so around August. You will hear, definitely not before. It would be crazy if it would be before ACC media days. But I personally think they'll use tact so that that's not the entire talk of ACC media days, or it'll be the talk Tuesday. Because if I remember correctly, and I looked at, because I was supposed to go, and I look at it, I think Florida State comes on Monday, and I think we're out of there after that. So like, they're not going to lead Mike into a situation, and Mike Alford, both Mikes, into situations where that will take away from where the season is going at that juncture. But I do believe that Florida State and Clemson will probably be making similar announcements around the same time.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you. Not too much to add on that. I think it's if Clemson were to go before Florida State, it would just be, just a symptom of the litigation differences and the fact that they were able to get their suit off first and be more meticulous and have our suit to go off of, and the way things jump around. As James was saying, it's kind of, people are getting out ahead of their skis. You got a lot of people who think they know, or just are being full of shit. Excuse my French. Like, it's a lot of stuff getting thrown against the wall when you have, very limited options. You've got Big 10, SEC, and you've got Big 12. So it's like everybody's planting their flag, and 30, 1/3 of them are going to be right. But it's, that's what it is. I think there's all kind of conversations going behind doors. You've seen people kind of holler, there are no written offers, yada yada. And I agree. That's been the thing. That's what the national media has been pounding. But now all of a sudden it's okay to report on the behind the scenes stuff and the handshakes and the setups that's getting on that we've been reporting all this time. And everybody's reporting it like they know. So we'll see. We're going to see. It'll be soon enough. So no need to rush it.
I'll say this: one of the bad things that got to bounce. One of the bad things is of so much reporting that's outside of any kind of context. All right, bring me a ginger ale. Is that people getting this information and are talking about stuff that they have absolutely no idea about. So, like, Florida State's on track to get an AAU status anyway, and you don't have to. There's schools in the Big Ten without the AAU, and Big Ten has came out and said that's not going to stop you from getting into that. And SEC, actually, if anything, SEC is ramping up things to try to compete so that the Big Ten doesn't come into their footprint. Right now, there is no Southern footprint for the Big Ten. This would put them and make them a national thing. And I think it's just a lot of stuff because everybody has harped on the GOR and how impenetrable it was when people were talking. But anybody who's ever dealt with any kind of legal situation understands that there's no such thing as an unbreakable contract. Heck, I'm pretty sure A lot of people who are listening to, I'm not putting this on anybody if you haven't, but you want to know what an unpenetrable contract is? One is a marriage contract, and that those get broke every day. Like that's one of the most breakable contracts that you can actually have, including even if you have a prenup. One thing that I did learn is that if she pays $1 toward a house that you had before you met her, she's entitled to compensation for that house, no matter what you have. So, but again, it just comes down to, somebody wants to leave. That there already is a future date. The thing is do you want to delay the inevitable so that you can't make any moves, or do you allow this to be able to come out to terms that's more palatable to yourself? So, and that's what's going to end up happening, and you're going to see other schools probably flee it. Hopefully, the ACC from an overall perspective of not wanting to have only 2 conferences, even though that's where everything is heading. I hope that the ACC does some things to make sure that they save themselves as a conference, because that's really where their energies need to go. Is how do you save the conference? And saving the conference is not by trying to keep entities that don't have no interest in being there.
Very well said.
But I hate to bolt on you quick, Mark, but I gotta go do this.
Appreciate you. Have a good one.
All right, you as well.
That's hashtag MFTK36 if y'all want to donate to the book bag drive that he's got going on. He's trying to get together 4,000 book bags here by quick orders, so go check that out for sure.
Absolutely. George, so you said Big 12, so I got to follow up on that.
My God.
Besides our guy Greg Swaim, when I say our guy, I'm joking to a certain extent. I've had him on one time. He was fine, but I've heard various things about him and his reporting. So besides him, where are we hearing Big 12 from?
So, and it seems like maybe he, along with the kind of other peddlers of the Big 12 news on Twitter, have kind of backtracked now. But especially first thing this morning, I don't know if it's Brett Yormark made a comment that, like, yeah, a couple teams might be leaving the SEC, so we're getting aggressive. We're on the horn, reporting that they've reached out to the 7 schools who aren't happy in the ACC, and these things about they're going to make a run. They're going to make a run to try to, be a Power 3. They're going to try to get Clemson and Florida State if at all possible. There was talk, somebody spoke about, well, it's not crazy. They're already getting close to what the ACC gets now. And if you add FSU and Clemson, you could probably get double what the new ACC payout would be minus Florida State and Clemson. And it's like, how is that even relevant? Like Florida State now, with what they're making, the current $40 million, that's less than half of what they need to compete. So you want to cut that into like damn near half, and then double it and say that's good for the Big 12. Like, why in the world is it like currently as it stands, Big 12 is a lesser than the ACC? Yeah, sure, that's because FSU and Clemson are there, but you subtract them, great, you're better than the ACC now. But you're still the Big 12. Now, where it is retracted to, and people have kind of, after the outrage and all the people like me quote tweeting big piles of poop and all this stuff, they've came out and said, well, it's more the other 5 teams after FSU ends up in the Big 10, Clemson in the SEC, or whatever the case may be, that the Big 12 could look at adding your Louisville's, your North Carolina's, etc. North Carolina, maybe not. They're one of the ones that really has a shot at a Power 2 school now. But that's what it's going to be. Like, I guess I come off as a Big 12 hater, but it's like, I'm not hating, albeit like y'all are smarter. Y'all have done better than the ACC as far as mapping out a future and stuff like that. At least Yormark is trying. He's not just trying to soak the blood out of a dead corpse and just get everything he can out of it, like was going on with Jim Phillips. But like, you just have to have national caliber teams. And once you take away FSU and Clemson, your only shot at that is like a Miami, who they just recruited at the national level. They haven't competed at a national level in 20 years. So who is it that you're going to grab from the ACC that's going to bring you up? It's like Utah. As good as Utah's been lately, they're not in the top 25 of recruiting. Like, they were pretty good in those grueling rivalry matches, but when it came time to take that next step, there's just a difference. I saw somebody say, and you know, again, the whole thing of they're going to make a push to the Power 3 or to be that third power conference. Like, sure, okay, if Thanos comes along and snaps away the current top 20 programs in the nation, yeah, you got a shot to be a power conference. Until that happens, and the whole idea that the ACC dying is good for the Big 12 because they get to ransack it and loot its body for jewels. No, because all of a sudden, once the ACC is gone, like, you don't have that banter. You don't get to say, oh, well, we're better than the ACC, not quite to the Power 12. No, it's just going to be the Power 12 and you at that point. And what does that do? That creates more separation. Even if you grab the auto bid, say, from the ACC throughout this, the playoff committee says, okay, Big 12, we're going to give you a little stamp. You added Miami and Georgia Tech, or whatever the case may be, and they give them 2 playoffs. Well, guess what? They're getting 1 more. The SEC and the Big 10, they're getting 2 more because they're going from 3 to 4. You know, so now you've got 9, 10 SEC teams and, you know, whatever. Oh, so you got your 2 Big 12 teams. Great. But it's just, you know, and I'll stop there. I won't rub in the wounds too much. It's just like, quit. There's this thing that Big 12 people want to do to crap on the ACC as if, and there was a meme, I think we talked about it on the show when it happened. I got into a big thing on Twitter. It's like, here's the 3 hot chicks. Here's the Big 12, the SEC, and Big 10, and here's the fat, ugly chick at the end, the ACC. Like, that's just, you're down there with us, okay? You're ugly. You're just as ugly, you know, but you just have, like, ankle weights on or whatever the case may be. You're with us. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not, like, I want to get out of the ACC. I really do. But still, even when you take a zoomed out view and you take out FSU and Clemson, NC State, Miami, there's 3 or 4 teams. If you look right now in the top 20 of recruiting, there's 5 ACC teams, not a single Big 12 team. So it's like a lot of conjecture, a lot of like teams beating each other and raising that. It's like, you know, the TV product and whether it's a cool conference or not, that's removed from being a power conference or competing for national championships. Maybe I'm a hater, but just how I see it. I'm going to have a real problem with FSU's administration if that's, you know, what they end up doing. We're going to go be the kings of the new G5 over there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see that being part of the plan at all whatsoever.
So you've got no interest. If the money was, I can't imagine it's going to be comparable, but if it was a large leap with Florida State and Clemson from what the ACC has going forward, and it got the Big 12 within some kind of range of the SEC and the Big 10, it doesn't interest you at all to go over to that conference and hopefully dominate?
Here's the thing. No, absolutely not. But here's why. Because all you're doing is the same thing you did in 2010 through 2012 when you signed this thing. Okay, somehow adding Florida State and Clemson and it being a year later than the Big 10 deal and 2 years later than the SEC deal or vice versa, you may get close, but the Big 10 and the SEC are going to sign 3 more deals in the next decade. And ESPN will never up your stuff. So by 2030, the SEC and the Big 10 are going to be making $120 million, and you're going to be sitting there at $80 million in the Big 12 saying, oh my God, here we are. We're back to square one. It's just, it matters who you play every week. All that stuff matters. If you were going to do that, you might as well go independent and schedule, you know, just Alabama, Texas, Ohio State out of conference the whole way through, you know, and play in the Sun Belt. Like, who is the Big 12? The bottom half of it is made up of Sun Belt and AAC teams. Like, I just don't. Yeah, but yeah, that's a problem with that, getting the money close. Like, there was a time when Texas and Oklahoma were in the league, you know, back in 2012 through 2015, that was a rumor. Now, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida State, Clemson, then you've got a legit, you know, whatever you want to call it, power competitor. But every time one of these dominoes has fallen, it has went to the Big 10 or the SEC, and it's reached a point now to where it's just a different thing. It's just, I don't know, we can't call it group of. I like to call it the relegation league, you know, whatever's left. Maybe you have the ACC and the Big 12, but it's going to reach a point to, just like the group of, just like minor league, you're going to get to a level in AAA where you're going to get called up, whether it's the player or whether it's the team that sells 30,000 tickets and they're a minor league team every year. They're going to be the first ones with a shot for expansion. It's going to be that management group. So that's how I look at it.
Florida State to the Big 12.
Maybe in 2012. It sounded sexy back then. Not so much in 2024.
No, it doesn't. And even if they had somebody coming with them, they would need a whole lot more to come with them. Even if they had
Notre Dame, that's the only other, that's the only other thing out there.
Well, I was thinking Miami and North Carolina, along with Clemson, and I guess a fourth team to make it 20, possibly. Just posted a comment from somebody in the chat that says Ross Dellinger is reporting that Clemson and Florida State are in talks with the Big 12.
Yeah, he might have been the one that, got it out there. It was originally all 7 of them. The later reports, the latest of it has been mainly the 5 of the 7. Now, am I going to sit here and say that Florida State and Clemson haven't spoken with people from the Big 12? They would be stupid not to do due diligence there. But yeah.
Appreciate you all being here at the Voice of College Football. We talk Florida State football with all of you each and every week. But if you want the daily dose, you go to the Renegade Report. It's right here on YouTube with George. We also enjoy and appreciate Chris. James was here, Spear Addicts, and Den Media Group. What's going on at the Renegade Report?
Man, we have been busy. So we got the Renegade Roast on Mondays. You guys can always check that out. That's Jen Santee and Tiny Hat CEO. Yesterday, of course, we got Max Redman commitment, so we reacted to that live. We had Clay Fink and our good friend James on with us. We talked about it earlier. We're going to have Doug Rohan this Friday to discuss all the latest with the lawsuit and conference realignment and a bunch of big surprises. We've got some pretty cool guests and pretty high up on the ladder guests that people might not think we'll be able to get coming through in the next couple of weeks. So
nice.
Big stuff. We just hit 2,500 subscribers. So trying to get to 3,000. They'll get over there and like and sub. We really appreciate you guys.
ACC kickoff is coming up in a couple weeks.